Brews and Banner Podcast. Brews and Banner Podcast. What up? Welcome to Brews and Banner Podcast. I'm your host, Rob G. And with me, as always, is the Legendary Brew Crew. What up, fellas?
I was reading this weekend. Mama.
Nah, it doesn't taste like dirt.
My name is Lou Belgium, ladies and gentlemen. I'm wondering,
does Delaware have an actual culture? This is the podcast that we talk about beer, but we also talk about a lot of things that's happening in the world, politics, movies, anything really that comes to our mind while we're here sampling these brews. Grab a drink and pull up a chair.
Ooh, we love you, Brews and Banter Podcast.
What up? Welcome to Bruising Banter Podcast, where the topic is the rockin' and the brew. Well, that be the few. I'm your host, Rob G, and with me, as always, the Legendary Brew Crew. What's going on, fellas?
hi.
Hello.
This is another wonderful episode of Bruising Banter Podcast.
Hello.
If this is your first time joining us, we are glad you have found us on these World Wide Web, these podcasts. I know there's a million out there, so we are glad you found us today. And for our bruisers and bruisettes, we are glad you are back with us today, this afternoon, this morning, this evening, whenever you are listening or watching the podcast, because we are on YouTube as well. They can say hi this time.
Yeah. Hi.
Hello.
Yo, how many podcasts do you think there are?
There's
Millions. How many do you think have over 100 episodes?
Not many, because some of them die on a vine pretty quick.
Yeah, you said like 6. After you do 6, like you're like in the top 50%.
Yeah.
So just do
That's
6,
crazy
guys. Just do
Yeah.
6.
Yeah, you was lit at the 6. That's it. You had a podcast.
All right, you did.
So you can't say I used to have a podcast and we only did 3.
Right. And you have to do. I think you gotta do at least a season. You gotta at least have a season to say I used to did a show.
I used to do a podcast.
No.
How many episodes? 2. Oh, sorry, sir, you didn't. You tried to do a podcast.
You did.
At the time of recording, it is International Women's Day, so happy International Women's Day to all the ladies out there who
Peace
are
and prosperity to y'all.
who are pushing the culture forward and doing great things in this world, and
Sure.
let's go ahead, round clap for y'all.
For sure. A round clap.
Round clap. Round of applause. I don't know what's round clap.
A round clap for you.
Yeah. I don't know where I got that from.
Now, ladies, do a round clap for us.
I say you done took off. You like the Magic City night in Atlanta at the Hawks games.
Hey, round clap.
Hold on, Magic City night at the Hawks games?
Yeah, it's having some a wide range of opinions. Some people was like, "This is amazing." Other people, not so much.
I mean,
I feel like it
encouraging.
sounds amazing.
It does, but I feel like that ticket has to be an 18 and over ticket.
I don't know. I think it's more about the wings. I think it's a Lou.
Oh, you should have led. You should have led with that. You should have led with that.
I'm assuming it's about.
When I think of Magic City, I still don't think of the food yet. The food is still not on my agenda of things that I want to experience at Magic City.
And maybe the ladies come out during halftime and dance, but fully clothed. I'm not sure. I don't know all the details.
Yeah, you making stuff up. You have no
making
confirmation of any of
about
this.
the wings. Fuck
Right. We don't even know if that's a confirmation.
That part I do know. It is. They are selling lemon pepper wings. I do know that for a fact.
All right.
Yeah, let's keep it about the lemon pepper wings then, because
Magic City Hawk games. Okay.
Yeah. So speaking of Atlanta.
Stupid thing.
Great segue. Well,
That was not a great segue. You can't laugh at your own joke as you segue.
I know. I ruined my segue, but it was good. The thought process was excellent. I just didn't execute.
Yeah.
It was
when you judge yourself, you get good to excellent.
There you go.
No, it was all right though. It wasn't.
Yeah, it was all right. Not good to excellent though.
This is a great episode because we do have a guest with us. We have the Atlanta-based marketing expert and the engine of L Max. We have Craig Stroud on the podcast. Let me give him a
round of applause. Clap, clap, clap. You're in there.
Give him a round of applause. Or which
around the room with it?
Which one, Rob? Let me know.
I said round of
applause.
Yeah,
I put the oven.
I know, but I took it out just to make sure that we was on the same. Welcome, Craig. Welcome.
Thank you for having me, fellas.
Appreciate you coming on.
We're glad you can join us. But before we get into everything today, we always like to know what everybody is drinking on. So, what are we drinking today? And we always start with our guests. So, Craig, are you drinking on something today?
Yeah, man, it would only be right. I am sipping on Creature Comforts Automatic. It's just a nice, easy 6.0 boy to kind of get the day started in the podcast and keep us all on track.
There you go.
So that's the ABV that keeps you on track. What keeps you off track? How high you gotta go?
When we start getting in those doubles and those quads, look, it can all be trouble after a couple, right? But right. This is a nice chill IPA just to kind of have some banner with the Bruising Boys.
Right, got you.
All right. Lou, you drinking on something?
Absolutely not. But I would like to take this opportunity, since it is Women's History Month, to highlight a woman in brewing. This is Miluna Brewing. It's spelled Miluna. Her name is what is her name? Craft Breezy. Craft _ Breezy on Instagram, and Miluna Brewing on Instagram, and her website is milunabrewing.com. She is a Latino woman from LA that is currently setting up brewery in Brooklyn, New York. Please visit her website and show her as much support as you can. Cheers.
Yeah, cool peeps. I met her.
Very cool.
Gaster, so she's very
cool.
Me
too. Yep, we did too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, you drinking on something?
Yeah, so I got the Rhythm and Beauty Black Lager from from Soul Maker out in DC.
Always messing with E, man. Leave him alone. It's really good though. It's really good though.
The other Lou Belgium. Elliot, the other Lou Belgium.
Elliot Belgium.
Yo, so this is what it looked like in a glass. Nice. I got it in my COVID glass. I don't even know where I found this at, but yeah.
Nice. That's a good throwback.
It's the anniversary coming on it. Too. Yeah, it is. Yeah. This is a good lager. It smells like fruits, actually. It smells kind of fruity, almost like cherries or plums or something. But very fruity smell. But it doesn't taste fruity. It tastes like a little toffee or coffee mixed together, like a little toffee coffee. But it's pretty good. I would say pass me another one of these, right? And also because it's a 6%er, you can have more than one.
Yeah.
So 6% is good. But once you get to drinking about 2 or 3, you may want to be careful.
Starts to get hot outside.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Rob, what are you drinking?
This is good. This is good.
I'm sorry.
And also make sure that you guys embody greatness like Soul Mega does, because that's their slogan.
There you go. All right.
Yeah. Rob, what are you drinking on?
I'm actually drinking on it's called Keep Hunkin' from Human Robot. It's their rice lager they did with the Dancing Gnome. I believe they're out of Pittsburgh. So it's a collab they did. This was also one for their 6-year anniversary. I'm making a rice lager like the big kids do, except with Motuka. So rice lager, duh. That's what it says all on the can. It does say all that. This is 4% ABV. I'm drinking it. Here you go. There's a nice straw color, as it should be, out of my Delaware Beer Week glass, of 2026 Beer Week. It's always light and refreshing. I love a good rice lager. The other day I had an amber rice lager. I don't know if I love amber like rice lagers, but I do like the Pilsner type that are nice and.
Was it just a different color?
Was it just a color that makes it amber? Well, Rob's like, nah, because I tasted the difference. So
but I feel like an amber, you probably would.
Well, I think they use
brew it longer.
And I think they used a
different malt.
Okay. Maybe they did a toast. Maybe they toasted the rice. Toasty. I don't know. So it had like a more toastier. I mean, it was fine.
You weren't feeling it.
Was it a different color?
Yeah, it was amber. It was
color, different. So it was amber. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So it was cool, but
you're not necessarily.
That's how you know Robert don't like that shit.
Oh, yeah, if it's cool, it was not good.
Cool.
Keep that shit in the cooler.
I mean, I drank it. I had just one, maybe.
Yeah, just one. Yeah. But you'll have I feel like you'll have just one of everything. You cheat.
No, I just have just one.
Now you never keep nothing in the cooler. Have you ever kept something in the cooler?
Yeah, that ooze goose drink I had. It was two joints.
So you like you like a 1% of all the beers.
Nah, you know why?
You because in the cooler.
The thing is though, Rob gets beers that he likes, so it ain't like that. We'll just grab any kind of beer, but he'll grab a beer that he likes. So it's easier for us to say we don't like something, but he'd be like, I ain't getting it unless I already know that it's a type of beer that I like.
Like he would try anything, like at a beer fest or something like that. Rob ain't afraid to drink anything.
Yeah, but how many times do we ask like?
No, and
the cooler. And maybe we should start.
We don't that's what I was about to say. We don't have no keep it in the cooler beers on this show because we're not drinking no nasty shit on the show. Yeah. And we're not drinking no random shit anymore. Like we all know what we like. Yeah. But we should just start drinking random shit and keeping some shit in the cooler because there's some beers that's really nasty out here.
Let me ask you this: when you think about trying random shit, is it based on like you at a brewery or you're in the store and you're buying based on what the cans look like, or based on? Because that's the challenge for me. Like you go into a craft beer store. And I think because of my background in design and I'm looking for certain information, I'm also looking at like their identity systems or lack thereof. And that's sometimes how I gravitate toward whether or not I want to try the beer. And that's not always the best way because sometimes the best beers come in like some of the worst looking packages, which is in those instances, I'd love to have a conversation with those breweries around like, man, this could just in general help raise your awareness in store because that's where it's a challenge to navigate what's good and what's bad.
Yeah, because we like often if I go and grab a beer, it's because I grabbed it because of the can anyway.
Right. See, that was how I was early on, not so much anymore. If I go to the bottle shop, I'm gonna buy what I want, what I like.
Right.
If I go to a brewery or a beer fest, I'm trying everything.
Because it's easily accessible then.
Absolutely,
let me get a little taste.
And it's just a little taste. Yeah, you ain't buying like a whole can or even a 4-pack.
A 4-pack,
Even the places that you can buy a can, it's like I'm gonna buy 16 ounces and I only take an ounce of it and I'm pouring it down the drain. It spent $7. Like no way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And a lot of times, like in package stores or liquor stores, you only get in the thing that they know the public likes. So you have IPA. You may have one or two other things, but like if you go to the brewery, I tend to drink different styles in the brewery because
the variety is there.
They have the variety, and at beer fest as well because they bring that as well. But at the liquor store, you'd be like, how many IPA? I'd be trying to find not an IPA.
Right.
So that's
And at a beer fest, I think it's like a rule that we should start making. Like if you like sours, don't go to a beer fest looking for sours. Go to a beer fest looking for a different style.
Push. Yeah.
Like you done spent money on the ticket. Go find something that's not in your normal palate.
Yeah, but then you might find a better sour than.
I mean, if you could, but I don't. And I'm not saying not if you're a sour lover. I'm not saying don't go to the beer fest and don't have any sours. I'm saying express your palate by getting some IPAs or going out there and trying a ESB or something that's different that you normally wouldn't because it's already included in your ticket. That's what I'm saying.
I think when I go to a festival, I typically then start to think about, and to your point, Lou, just trying to expand the palette. You know, if I see, you know, these guys are known for, you know, dark check pills, and maybe I'm sliding over there to try it because that's what they're known for, right? Versus me typically being more in kind of like the lager stout space. You know, it's you know, then I push myself into those spaces to try other things. But and then too, typically when you're with the homies at a beer fest, everybody's palate is a little bit different. So we all go there with this idea of like, oh, I want to try this one, try this one. And so that's how I tend to try to find new stuff, because then I draft off of, you know, no pun intended, but I draft off of wherever the rest of the homies are headed.
So you just gotta have balance at a beer fest. You do one for you, two for the culture, one for you, two for the culture kind of thing. And then,
I like that. I like that. Yeah,
I like that's a good one. That's a good one.
I think that's how I ended up like fucking with IPAs after everybody goes because the beer fest. Like I go to a beer fest and like I'll drink an IPA at a beer fest versus me going either to pick one up.
Even buy one at a brewery.
Even to the brewery.
It's the dominant force. It's the dominant force at any.
And then you realize, like with me and Yoda not liking them in the beginning, you realize how many different versions of IPAs. So it's like, I don't like the majority of IPAs, but there is a style of IPA, that or a niche of IPA that I do enjoy. So that's from Beer Fest. Beer Fest did that.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Sure. All right. So while we got that all covered, I'm glad we all are drinking something. Well, most of us are drinking something.
I'm drinking water. It's delicious.
Yeah. There you go.
Me too.
Absolutely.
I got both.
I got some white tea as well.
I just got beer.
Yeah, Yoda. Come through like a G.
Suck ass niggas
with their waters and teas. He over here not even drinking no ABV.
Yeah, shit. I'm over
here hydrated.
Yeah, what the fuck wrong with them?
Well, because I'll probably have another one after the podcast, and so I want to.
Oh shit, I want so. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, so you guys stay hydrated. All right. Well, we do have a great show, and we want to thank Craig for coming on. Give him a round of applause again. And we want to know who you are, how you got to where you are, and without further ado, the proverbial floor is yours.
Who are you?
Wow. Okay. Well, I mean, I like to always start by saying, you know, shoot, me, even outside of craft beer space, when I'm talking to breweries or, you know, new breweries that I'm trying to work with, I always start with just kind of like who I am as a person, you know, like God-fearing man, husband, you know, father, and then sneaker and craft beer, like, you know, connoisseur, right? And so that's kind of the space that I play in my spare time. And I think that's where this, you know, this idea around LMAX kind of came from. But, you know, my day job, the things that keeps the lights on, I run a small consultancy agency on the marketing side, and we focus on everything from design to strategy to creative application. So a lot of this is me taking what I do from a career perspective and kind of playing around with it in more of a passion space. And so, you know, here in Atlanta, where the craft beer scene is amazing, you know, the diversity, you know, we're talking about, you know, the women in craft beer here in Atlanta. I mean, there's just a ton doing everything from actually brewing to strategizing, you know, to, you know, just like it's just thick. And so that, and then just culturally across the board, I was like, man, everybody's kind of doing something. And I wanted to kind of try my hand in it. And so, man, going on 4 years ago, I had this idea of like LMAX. It just kind of came to me and feeling like there was a missing piece to kind of everything else that was happening. And so, you know, I just kind of took a swing on, you know, and here we are.
All right. So why LMAX? Like, how did you land on that?
Well, so it all comes from back to the idea around like the sneaker culture and like craft beer culture. And I see that there are a lot of parallels between the two. If the four of us were in person, we'd likely have sneakers on our feet. We'd be talking about craft beer. We'd be talking about, you know, a few other things, right? But that would be kind of the focus. And what I saw is like all of my homies, you know, we all got on sneakers. We're all talking about our favorite beers. whether it's, a hazy IPA or a West Coast, or in some instances, if there's a Lou in the room or Yoda, we don't really like IPAs. But then our job then as stewards of this space is to find things that you guys would like, right? So therein lies the conversation. And so I was starting to think about, and you may hear me say this quite often, I wanted to add value, right? Like there were a lot of things happening here in the space in Atlanta, and I just didn't see anything where it was tying something that a lot of my friends were already involved in into something that we were already involved in. So the idea of LMAX is really the blending of these two cultures, sneaker and craft beer. We talk about craft beer in terms of the craft of the product. You could say that very similar and parallel happens within, craft beer. You're crafting a beer, you're designing it, you're playing around with hops, you're playing around with, different ingredients at different times, adding to, the brewing process. And that happens a lot in, the sneaker culture as well. We're paying homage to things that happened years ago. What does the consumer want? So all of these things were happening. And I was like, man, it feels like these things should just be put together in a way. And so what better time to do it than when people are all tied into sneakers? And so, Nike has this thing where they do kind of Air Max Day, and that happens yearly. March 26th, that is the day. And so there's a lot of programming, parties, marketing, and then they start to drop their sneakers around that time of year. So I was like, man, what better than to drop a beer that pays homage to one of my favorite sneakers too, the Air Max. And we're likely, now at the time we were doing it, we were getting close to like that 30-year mark, right? Of the shoe being in various forms, different iterations. And it felt like the perfect time to do it. So me not really having a voice in this space, tapped into one of my really good friends here in Atlanta, and everybody in the craft beer space knows him, L Sharpton. He's got a big microphone, big megaphone. And I was like, yo, I've got this idea. I want to launch it. And he's like, yo, I got you, brother. I hope you push it out there. And so he did exactly that. Partnered with a local brewery here, the homies at Inner Voice. They make some really good, they make really good beers. IPAs, and they make pills, they make stouts, they make it all, but it's a really cool, chill place to hang out. And one of the owners actually happens to be a really big Air Max fan. Like, he's in there brewing, running the shop in Air Max, and I came to him with the idea, and he's like, yo, say let's do it. And we did a quick run. I think we did like 7-8 barrels, sold out of them. We did a little merch, I just like to call it a capsule collection. Sold out of the t-shirts and, the postcards. And that's when I was like, okay, I think there's something here. There was a vibe. You had a mixture of, people there to participate. And I was like, okay, I think maybe we can do something with it and try to scale it.
So what exactly is LMAX? Like, is it a brand company, like a clothing line, or what exactly is it?
No, you know what? And I'm glad you brought that to the forefront. Like LMAX is really at the forefront of connecting the dots, right? And so essentially what we're here to do is to celebrate these two amazing cultures. And by connecting the dots and telling stories, like through that, like it's the platform where we connect craft beer, sneaker culture, and I'll get into that in a bit, we're adding in running community. So the idea really of LMAX is just to essentially bring these communities together and tell stories. I like to say, and it's kind of become a tagline, it's like LMAX pours into the culture, right? We're pouring into the culture in different ways. And so by bringing these groups together, like you have some folks that aren't really interested in, beer, but they've had beer, right? Mm-hmm. They may be coming as a sneakerhead to one of our experiences. And the idea around that is super dope because we create cans or like design cans. The artwork has a celebratory feel because it's inspired by sneakers that we're all familiar with, right? And so to show you like the first design off of the first can was this LMAX 1. And if you look closely, you can see some very similar. You can see some references from sneakers that we're all familiar with, right? Mm-hmm. And so from there, people just get it, right? Like it's like, oh, I can see that. I see the sneaker. And so now we start to talk about a level of collectability, right? Sneakerheads collect sneakers, right? So they also collect gear, stickers, and other things that kind of harken back to the culture. And so if I buy a 4-pack, I'm drinking 3. If I love the beer, I'm probably drinking 4. And then I'm maybe still just keeping the can. Or in true pristine sneaker culture, I'm going to drink 3 and keep a can that's been unopened, right? And like the idea is that it never opens, but it sits on shelf, right? And because of that silhouette, you get the vibe, you get the feeling of what it is. So that's really what we wanted to be, man. And so I think some of these other elements are just a byproduct of, to your point or your question, Yoda, is like, what exactly is it? We're still unpacking and brewing what it can be. It started off with a celebration that first year. And when we saw how well it did and how there was, people reaching out saying like, yo, you're doing this next year. Where's it going to be? What's the inspiration? I knew that there was something there. And, then that was the idea then to look to scale it. And so from year 1 to year 2, we then started to work with some of the other homies in the space. Monday Night being one of the, most noted breweries here in Atlanta, in the Southeast region, if I would say. Mm-hmm. And then our friends at Bearded Iris up in Nashville, that was year 2. And then year 3, we scaled to 6 breweries, kind of pushing the regions out. And so we worked with Resident Culture in Charlotte. We worked with Finback in Brooklyn. We worked with Hot Butcher in Chicago. We worked with our friends Oak Park in Sacramento. And then our friends down in New Orleans at Urban South. So, and then again, we, tap back in with Monday Night. So 1 brewery, 2 breweries, 3 breweries, scaling in a way that starts to kind of like evangelize this and get more people involved. It's been a fun ride so far.
Now how did it how did that, I guess the scaling work? Like because of that first brewery saying, hey, we understand that, was it because of rolling with that and they like, hey, well, let's tell our friends and then we'll tell their friends? Like how did that, or did you have to go and explain each time to every brewer that you might have had interest in?
Yeah, I think there's it's community. So when we also talk about, LMAX and it connecting communities, within those communities, there's community. You go to a beer festival, all of the breweries are there. All of the brewers pretty much know each other, right? Or know someone. Like, there's a level like, you're just 1 degree of separation, right? And so going there, and, we'll get into that, me coming to Snally, and for those that don't know, Snallygaster, for me coming to that was also something that kind of kickstarted, me having connections with other breweries outside of the region. Because, maybe they saw something on social media. Then I was able to kind of have a moment to tell the story or, high level, like what this is and how it ties into the culture. And, we hear people talk about community all the time, but then there's culture within the community. And so, keeping it a buck, the 4 of us on here represent a very specific community, right? And so as we think about how do we further tell these stories and get more, African Americans involved in the craft beer space, these are ways to do it. And then when you start to have that conversation with breweries, that are open to the conversation, say, oh, there's mutually beneficial reasons for us to do this because, it's opened us up to potentially a new audience that may not necessarily be rocking with craft beer, right? We're giving them a reason to come in and then hopefully then a reason to come back.
Nice. All right. So what year? This is year 4? This year 4?
Yeah, with this year, March, this makes year 4. So really excited about what we got on tap with the breweries that we're tapping in. A lot of puns there. But yeah, we're definitely excited about what we have on tap for this year.
Well, Air Max Day is in March, correct?
Correct. March 26th.
And we're in March. So could you tell us what's happening? We're a couple weeks away. Do you have any, or you got to hold back on that?
Yeah, no, I can tell you a little bit I can tell you plenty about what's going on. And I would also say it's like, where you start is not where you end, right? And so there is this level of evolution. And so, Rob gave me some really nice words in the opening, you know, like marketing expert or like whatever those words. I was like, whoa, okay, that's a big title. But yeah, my background is marketing, and I know a thing or two about a thing or two. And so sometimes you have to meet people where they are. And the idea around that is making it simple, in that it's something that people can get really quickly. It's no different, you know, it's different, but no different than making music. You get a hook, people gravitate to the hook, then they may listen to more of the song, right? And so the idea around this was, I knew that in bringing those cultures together, that the crossover would be really nice. You know, the idea is that Air Max is its own thing, but it does pay homage to Air Max. But what we quickly saw is that, you know, there are people who aren't really into Air Max, just like some people are only into a very specific beer. How do we open the aperture and really make it about the culture? And while we've been paying homage and leveraging some of the really cool things that we can do in the marketing space that lean into a specific shoe, we now are opening up to start really just being more about the full-on culture that's inclusive of, obviously, an Air Max, right? And so the breweries that we're tapping into, I'm a firm believer in, you know, dancing with who I came to the party with. And so any of the breweries that were interested early on or gave this a shot always have the ability to tap in and to collaborate. And so what you'll see is us going back to some of those same breweries in very specific markets. But then obviously, as we continue to try to, you know, to grow this thing and scale, we want to go into other markets and give other breweries a chance to do that. So, you know, we'll be in your neck of the woods starting March 18th. We're doing a collaboration with Blue Jacket, and we were talking about Elliot very shortly or for a sec early on with Soul Mega and Blue Jacket. So that's happening on Wednesday, March 18th to kick things off. And I'll be remiss if I didn't mention this. We talked about the two cultures that we are already fully involved in. This year, we are adding a third culture to the mix. And so what I say is, like, Air Max is about connecting the dots. It's about the culture. So we connect the craft beer, the sneaker culture together. And now we're bringing in running. And so if you think about it, one of the light bulbs that went off in my head when I thought about this is every year we want to try to do something new to engage people who've already been participating in a new way, or then maybe bringing more folks into the fold. And so I've got some friends here in Atlanta that are really big in the running. And I've seen, you know, shout out to one of my homies, Maurice Garland. I've seen his progression. He's a captain of the Atlanta Run Club here. And that's one of the bigger running clubs in Atlanta. You know, shout out to the guys at Atlanta Run Club, James Rowe. But what's really dope about it is I saw his progression when he started, you know, dabbling in run. He was still coming to the beer shares, right? And so now moving on, like we're at 6 years, I think. Now he's really into non-alcoholic IPAs, right? Which I enjoy as well now because they've really moved the needle on how they taste, right? Versus what they used to taste like, right? But having said that, you know, he's running multiple marathons. He's leading runs regularly with the Atlanta Run Club. And what I saw across the board in different cities is a 5K ends in a lot of people drinking beer, right? Like there is a level of replenishing the body, and surely it's not a sports drink, but it does do something in terms of replenishment, drinking a lager or pills after a run. And you see it after major marathons, people walking around the city with their medals on, still in their gear from running. Maybe they've changed into some more comfortable sneakers, not run sneakers, but they're all drinking beer. Right. And so then I started seeing that we've got friends that are running for the permissibility to continue to drink and feel good about themselves, right? Right. And those are the same friends that are actually drinking, and still like rocking sneakers, because a lot of them care about how they look when they run, right? Absolutely. So they might not be wearing, you know, like your lifestyle or, you know, just everyday chill Air Max. They're moving into other sneakers that, you know, Nike may provide. They're wearing New Balance. They're wearing, you know, Asics gels. They're doing all of the things. And then there's still some of us in like the sneaker space that actually wear running shoes just because they look.
You say you brought up Asics. Woo.
Yeah.
They make a good sneaker, bro. They just walk around the street in.
Yo, let me ask you this though. Speaking of the sneakers, like what exactly is the Air Max? Like, is that a running sneaker or is it just what is the Air Max?
Well, Air Max started off as a running shoe. If we go back 30 years when Nike first created it, the first time showing the air bubble, that was a legit running shoe, right?
Okay.
But the technology continues to grow. Nike still does their thing in that space for sure. But then other brands catch up in certain aspects of what run could look like, and what just everyday culture could look like in terms of what's hot. Like it's cyclical. And then you have like your loyalists, some that are just very beholden to one particular brand. Like you see where these parallels are going when we talk about like sneaker and craft beer culture. There are a lot of similarities to it. And I've got this slide in one of my decks when I'm sharing it with breweries, where I literally take two images that I found online. And one just happens to be a bunch of, let's just call them like, younger adults, youth lined up for a sneaker release. And then that's one half of the screen. And on the right hand of the screen, you've got a bunch of adults, full-on adults lined up for what likely is a bourbon barrel release of some sort. Right? And so I turned it into a black and white image, and I merged them together. So if you don't look closely, you might just think you're looking at people lined up for a sneaker release, or you think they're lined up for a craft release.
Yep.
It's really it's the tale of two sides. It's the same story.
And just to interrupt you, half of them are in line for both.
Exactly.
That's what you found. Yeah. Yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah. So there's the sweet spot. Yeah. So so back to DC. If I just say this, partnering with District Running Collective. Shout out to Matt Green and Steph B and Ashley, the homies over there. They have been very cool about the idea. And it's like once you tell people what this is, they totally get it. And my conversation with the run clubs is saying, they call it an elevated run because they have weekly runs. And so outside of getting your normal miles in, is there something else that we can do maybe that's fun or changes it up? So they're still going to get their miles in, but then after they finish those miles, it's going to end with a beer, right? Which is something that some of them would already do anyway, but we're going to bring a little more vibe to it. And obviously you guys know Elliot. And so Omega, like there is a vibe, right? And so us then partnering with Blue Jacket, which you guys know as well, they do one of the best festivals in the country, right? And the guys over there, the restaurant group, it's just like it's a dope vibe. And so this is just year one of what we hope in each market we can continue to grow into something much bigger, much grander. And here in Atlanta, now having done it, for going on 4 years now, we've grown to a space where people have come to expect it. And, close to over 500 people were at last year's event. So I think that's pretty nice for something that's, just been growing organically. We want to try to keep that momentum going in all of our markets.
Yeah. So walk us, I guess, through a day. Like if you wanted to go to the one in DC, like what can I expect? Especially if I also am a runner, like what do I need to sign up? Like what did that day look like?
Yeah. Okay. And so I'll also say this, because I think there's also a piece, and I might even use this as a sound drop off of like the podcast. LMAX is 3 different things all in one, and I say come for the run, or come for the beer, or come for the sneakers, or come for a combination of any of the 3. It's all going to end with a beer, right? And so for the individuals that are coming for the run, it's going to be very similar. Each market will be slightly different because we're working with the local brewery, the local run club, and just creating the vibe for each market. So in particular, just to kind of give you a baseline, in DC, the guys kick off their Wednesday runs at 6:30. It's like a 30 to 45 minute run, obviously depending on, your pace, but all levels are welcome. Right. So anyone who's interested in run, first time or long time, can come out for the run. And so they start that at 6:30. We'll get the vibes going at the brewery at like 6. Eb King, is one of the DJs that's going to be there. And we've got another talented, and it's funny, we got 2 female DJs there. So that's going to be dope. And they'll be spinning, for the 4 hours that we're there. So you come, if you're coming for the sneakers, show up anywhere between 6 and 10 and just collect the vibes. If you're coming for the run, show up at, 6:30 or a little bit before 6:30. The guys will stretch you out. They'll get their run on, and then they'll come back. And then we'll celebrate with the L Max collaboration with Soul Mega and Blue Jacket. And if you're just there for the sneakers, come, because some people will be rocking their grails, right? Like the whole idea is like, it'll be everything from someone's beaters to someone's grails, right? And everything in between. And I like to think of like, there's even probably a 4th individual that might come out. And that's a person that's just curious, right? Like they might not be very big into running. They might not really be big into sneakers. They may dabble in beer, and it's just kind of like, oh, this seems cool. We know that these communities are super inclusive. I think there's a feeling of them being exclusive, right? Because when you're in the know, the drops, the best breweries, but I'd be surprised if I've not come across anybody in any of these spaces that weren't really kind with their knowledge of craft beer or sneakers and wanting to put people on to new things. So I think there's that opportunity for somebody who just thinks that this feels like a cool moment. Come on in, and enjoy the vibes.
Right. Now,
so let me ask a question. Are the last year you had them in different cities? Or is the running events going to be in different cities this year?
Yes. That's the thing.
How many different cities and breweries are you collabing with for L Max 4?
So right
for the
now,
running events,
well, really, the idea is like we're trying to do it in all of the markets. So DC, Atlanta, Charlotte, Resident Culture, in Portland, working with Everywhere Beer Company out there, and they have a run club, Fast Friends. So we're going to be integrating and incorporating that into the mix. And the cool thing about this is it's run club agnostic in terms of, even if you run with another run club, this is not a competition. Like anybody can come out for the run. And you start to see that in the run community as well. Like all of them, like a lot of run clubs have a specific day that they run. Some of them run on the same day. But the idea that we pick a day, and if you can come out and you don't have a run already scheduled, this is an opportunity to come out and kick it. And so back to the list, and then in Miami, working with Trippin' Animals, and shout out to the homie Ignacio and Juan and the guys down there. They're starting their own run club, and I think they're called the Banditos. And so I think it's really dope that like the event will kick off. They will have only have done one of their own runs by the time we actually get down there in early April for the event. And so we're going to collab, and then we're working with some local run clubs down there to bring in the energy up and help to really kick this off and celebrate.
What's the run distance?
Yeah, so the run clubs, I tend to defer to them on what makes sense for the runs, but think of it like this. Typically those weekly runs, they have different distances based on, where you are in your run journey. Okay. So they have like a short one, a long one, and then maybe a slightly longer one if they do 3, but they all still run at the same time. Short one just finishes early, right? And you're just back at the brewery quicker than the other ones, right? So I think that's it. And to the whole idea of like, like all levels welcome. I'm not a runner. But I am taking this as an opportunity to start to ingratiate myself to that space. Now, I won't likely be able to run at some of the events because obviously I'll just be trying to make sure that the vibes are going. I might be using that as an excuse, but I have I have promised the wife that that's going to be a part of my journey. And as I've talked to the breweries and talked to the run clubs, I think it's just really interesting when we talk about getting involved in something. And I want to start to, to document what that looks like, not necessarily for it to be a part of like I'm going to promote it online, but there'll probably be some funny moments because I don't run. Right. And so I think that's going to be hilarious. Like, you know, so, you know, and I'm okay with like people catching me, you know, in those moments. So we may have some fun with some of that stuff, but I want to start getting into that. And so, you know, I'll make a goal of it that by next year, this time when we're at anniversary year 5, I'm in a space where I can actually do the runs in a way that's still reflective of like, you know, the way some of my guys get down.
Yeah, that's awesome. I like that, Craig.
So how many events are there this year? How many events?
So right now we're at 7 right now, with a few that have not yet been fully confirmed that I got to hold back. But you know, if I said like just kind of going back, DC with Soul Mega and Blue Jacket, Atlanta with Monday Night Brewing, Charlotte Resident Culture, Portland with our guys at Everywhere Beer Company, Trippin' Animals in Miami, Chicago Hot Butcher, and New Orleans with Urban South.
Nice. Now, are the beer collaborations different styles of beer particular to the breweries, or is it all one type of beer, one recipe?
You will appreciate this, Lou. We're moving it around a bit. You know, again, when we started several years ago, it was all IPAs. And for those that are more of a fan of a West Coast and hazy, we started with, you know, year 1 was a hazy. Year 2, 2 hazies. Year 3, we moved it around and opened the aperture into like West Coast and, you know, just straight up IPAs. And then there were a few hazies. You know, year 4, we're opening it even further. You know, like we're just basically saying, you know, let's stay in an ale space, you know, if you will. And so then too, you know, working with the breweries, it's like, okay, what's coming down the pipeline? What are you guys interested in making? And the idea is that like when I came up with the name, you know, trying to move away from the idea of ale being a very specific type of beer. You know, there are moments when we when we consider ale being all encompassing, and that was always my vision, right? So make the style of beer that we align on. You know, when I work with the breweries, you know, sometimes, you know, I'll come to them with some ideas. They may have an idea, but again, I'm not a brewer, you know, don't profess to be. I defer to them to just do what they do and make really good beer.
Okay.
And I'll focus on, you know, and with that, then I'll focus on trying to bring a level of aesthetic to the space that makes this feel elevated and makes it feel like a vibe, and that's something that people would want to be a part of, you know, year in and year out. And so every year we have a different theme, or, you know, we slightly try to change it up. So there's something new to collect and there's something new to taste.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
Craig, with these 7 different beers and 7 different collaborations, is there a way that we can get all 7 of the brews in like a collection?
Yeah, well, I would say this. Therein lies us taking it back to the old days of sneaker culture before it was heavily on internet and you had resellers. You had to have a homie in one of those, you know, other locations, right? And so depending on the brewery and how far they go into distribution, you know, in some markets, I mean, like in Atlanta, where we've been doing this for several years, you know, you can definitely find it in multiple tap rooms. And, you know, like, you know, I can't speak to exactly what level of distribution they'll have, but, you know, last year we saw it in multiple markets, which was a good thing. I think as word gets out further in other markets, and the more we can collaborate with these brewers and they feel like it's a value add, you know, kind of going back to that, I want this to feel like on a lot of levels, it's a value add to the brewery, it's a value add to the consumer, and the value add to the culture. But to your point, the easy answer is like, you got to hit a homie up most likely and say, hey, send you some. But I do envision a point where we could actually take, you know, this is the can from last year with Resident Culture. Here's the can last year from Finback. You know, here's the can from Oak Park from last year. And so in my mind, I just like would love this idea. And then we've got the can from, you know, from Monday night. And then we've got the can from like Hot Butcher. You know, like there's a 6-pack right here, and like
I want it.
We got
I want it. And like this year, Craig, is going to be at DC, so that's semi-local for us. So we could get to one of the events. But if I live in Kalamazoo, no, that's close. if I live in like New Mexico or something like that, none of these beers, but I'm still a fan. And I want to be like you said, you always want to be a part of the culture no matter how far you are. And it's just like, why can't the beer industry embrace this enough so that these particular beers at least can be distributed in their 6-pack or their 7-pack, because it's an anniversary celebration, but it's just a nationwide collab. And some states don't allow this and some states don't allow that, and vice versa. So I see where the conundrum comes, but it's just
one thing I do know is I'll give you a good example. So when we did our event, and man, shout out to the homies at Beer Wax in Brooklyn. We did an event there just the day before the release at Finback last year. It was really cool in how this all came together. But they had asked if there were any of the other beers that they could get through distribution. And because Hot Butcher, their distribution channels and their distributor actually sells their beer in New York, they were able to do that. I don't think that that's impossible. Like, surely there's probably some logistics involved, Lou, but I think there is a way for that to happen where people then could buy multiple packs and then collect and create their own 6-packs, right? Like, now, again, I can't speak to that for this year,
right?
But obviously, me pushing for something like that in the future, and man, maybe the 5 years the way to go to make that shake. But I think it would be dope, man. Like to have that, because then you get to taste these different styles. I think it brings, shines a broader light on the breweries outside of like their collective normal space, in terms of, because that's when then you have like people who might not be following breweries to the degree that the group of us are, that like, yo, okay, I got to go find these beers so I can create a pack, if not buy it, right? Because at worst, it's no different than going to a beer share, right? You buy a 4-pack with the idea of keeping one at the crib, trying it, you like it, or you might keep 2. You might give one to your brother or your homie, and then you take 1 or 2 to the beer share, right? Or everybody pulls up and they've got a pack, and then we just exchange, right? So I've kept enough of these that and some of the homies here in Atlanta would probably be like, yo, fam, I didn't get it last year. I kept enough to create like 2 or 3 6-packs to give the homies, not to drink, but almost to say these were some of the earlier ones on the shelf, right? And so, but yeah, man, I'll see where I net out and see what I can like put together and send you guys like a little care package. I got
some ideas off air, Craig.
Yeah, I probably got an idea that'll get you. Yeah.
Now you talked about the like the sneaker culture, the beer culture, and the run culture. Like, I know there's like DJs, but is there another element of like I guess music in terms of that as well?
Man, I thought I mentioned it when I was talking about the vibes, but thanks for bringing me back, Rob. Lou, you did say Rob will bring you back and get us focused, which is perfect. So if I think about man, it's almost like hip hop, right? Like the core pillars of what makes this a vibe is we've got the run. Well, let's start with where we started. Like, we have the beer, we have the sneakers, we have the music, which is an integral component. Right, every year we've had DJs, right? We've had music to kind of set that off. And so I mentioned the DJ, and man, I got to pull up the other DJ's name for DC just to make reference. But having said that, yes, absolutely. When people pull up to the experience, whether you're running, you're there for the beer or the sneakers, the vibe will be set. We will have the DJ in tow, and like really like curating the vibe. So that's the backdrop, right? So everybody can just like come in and enjoy for whatever reason that they're there.
Shout out to curating the vibe.
Shut up, Robert.
Yeah.
Yo, so let me ask you that. This is not necessarily about beer, but it's definitely about sneakers. How do you feel about replicas?
Wow. Like,
what you mean? Like a reissue?
Replica, like that was made in a
as of replica sneaks. Like, a lot of people say they don't care. Some people are like, they just hate replicas. But some people like, oh, you can find a good replica and they don't mind spending that money on them. But I'll be like, damn, you might as well buy the regular sneak if a replica is $200.
Like that's you know what? I'll give you a good. Okay, so let's try to create a parallel to that. That's like a replica in the craft beer space would be like someone making your favorite beer, home brewing it, and trying to sell it off. And they might be a really good home brewer, right? But them trying to then sell it off as the real thing, right? You know, like that's okay. Like, you know what? Yeah, that's like somebody like home brewing and trying to make Hetty Topper or Pliny Elder at the crib and doing a really good job of it. Like, woo, this is not bad, but it's just not it. Like, you can't do that. It's like, you know, if you were a journalist, it's like plagiarism. Like, you know, it's we can't stand for that. Like, we can't.
Look, and that's why I asked, because I was going to say the same thing about me.
Yeah, you can't let that slide, man.
Now, like, because of the culture, like, have you implemented, like, maybe, I don't know, like hip hop artists also being a part of this as well in terms of and that nature?
Not to date, man. But look, I'd say this, you know, to the degree that sneakers are a part of everyone's culture. Like, you know, like I even think of it like here in Atlanta. And so Monday Night Brewer, like they're like amongst a few other breweries here in Georgia, they're kind of like a pillar of what happens in craft beer. And, you know, shout out to my guy, Peter Kiley, who's the head brewer over there. He is about everything Atlanta, right? Like, he is about giving back to Atlanta. And he's also about connecting the dots. And so he's got relationships with a lot of folks here in the city. They did and again, they did a collab with Run the Jewels with Killer Mike and LP, you know, and, you know, they produced a beer. Obviously, Killer Mike and, you know, the team have done it with other folks as well. But, you know, here in Atlanta, they did that. And I thought that was dope. But I referenced that to say that Killer Mike is a huge sneaker head, right? Like, you know, to a degree, you know, and also a low head, you know, I mean, polo is my thing as well. But I say that to say that these are all elements of the culture. And so while it might not necessarily be someone rocking the show, right, or, you know, like doing a concert, we've not evolved to like the level where we are a festival of anything. And, you know, who's to say? We maybe one day, but as we evolve, like, I thought it was yeah, you know, like, and so we've had conversations with a few folks around what that looks like in parallel or being a part of it. You know, I think it was really dope. We got a write up on Sneak. We got two write ups on Complex in Complex sneakers, which was really dope. We got one on complex.com and then one when we first started for Complex sneakers. And I thought that was a good look just because it's tying back to the culture. Yeah. I thought it was pretty dope. Like, I don't have a ton of followers. And for me, this isn't about the followers as much as about pushing it out. What's really cool is that, you know, the breweries have the followers in social media. And so as I help them with, you know, pushing out the content, you know, hopefully it gets far enough and the algorithms don't like hate on us, that it does give us the traction that we need. And I think what was really cool is I did a post the other day, and Fonte from, you know, Little Brother and, you know, Foreign Exchange, you know, he saw the post, and obviously I used one of their songs on the post, you know, and he liked it. And like, you know, when you don't have a ton of followers or anybody that you rock with, that was like, he liked it. I was like, oh, this is dope. And, you know, I don't know, shout out to Fonte. You know, if you in town when we in Charlotte, pull up.
Right.
But yeah, so I think that's dope. So, you know, I think, you know, culture respects culture. And so as we continue to push, Rob, I'm hoping that we can create some more connections like that. Because when I start to think about the sneaker culture and, you know, like people that are really dope and what they do, and, you know, gift packed in some of these things, like I think of like somebody like Wale.
That's what I was going to say.
Me too. That's a good pull.
You know, that would be dope. Like, you know, if I shot him a 4-pack and, you know, whether he drinks it or not, he appreciates that it's coming from the culture and it's all love, you know. So yeah, I think as we continue to grow, we'll hit some of these markets, and somebody will catch wind, and yeah, we'll continue to push.
Right, you can have Fat Joe licking the can like he licks the bottle of sneaks.
Ew, that's disgusting. I hate that shit. I don't give a fuck. I know what sneak is. That was in somebody's hand at some point. You nasty bastard.
Hey.
But what was I going? Oh, I was going to say, like, I think that it is a connection there, and I feel like that it may make sneakerheads that may be interested in beer, it may make them more comfortable with going towards that direction to try some beers, and vice versa too. Like people that are in the beer may get them in the sneaks. You never know. Like, so it's a good parallel. So I like it. I like what you're doing.
Yeah, man. I think that, and when you start merging these cultures together and realizing that there's more in common than not across the board, culturally, racially, wherever you want to go, it's a dope vibe. And the crazy thing about it is we think about, we all got our own version of Cheers, right? Whether it's a local, bar that has, some really dope stuff on tap, or if it's just a bar in general, like, the brewery, what we've done with this is we're making the brewery the hub, right? It's the central hangout, right? Everybody starts and ends there. Like that's what we're going for. And I just think that is an integral part of it that can't be without that. We could do some level of experience, but like you have to have like a foundation, right? And the base of all of this is it starts with the beer and the sneakers.
I like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Is there anything else you want the people to know about LMAX and the events that are happening? And also, is there a merch component to it? I mean, I see that you have something on, but
I see the sneak in a beer can mixture.
Yeah. Every year we try to play around with it as well. Like, so that, like, components, we try to create, kind of like a campaign. With the campaign, we try to create a capsule collection of teas, and man, I don't know how I don't have it in here, but you know what? I do. We did a tote bag, and I call this like, it's more like a beer carrier. So give me 2 seconds. I'm gonna grab it. It's
all right. I mean,
this was, you probably wasn't expecting this, but last year we did. So think about it. When you leave the brewery with that 4-pack, or in the case of this year, when you guys pull up, grab 2 4-packs, right? This fits 2 4-packs.
Oh yeah,
right. And this is a tote bag that we did, and it also plays off of one of the favorite colorways. One of my favorite sneakers too, the 95. Plays off of that, and I think we also always do a tee and hoodie, sweatshirt, just to kind of give somebody something that feels a little commemorative. And each year we try to push it and do something different, maybe a different colorway. So we'll definitely have a capsule collection to share. I can't share with some of the stuff. We'll have some of the old stuff, and then we'll have some new stuff as well.
All right.
You kind of let it go. Is that your favorite Air Max? That was one of my last questions for you. Is that your favorite Air Max that you just showed?
The 95?
Yeah.
No, my favorite is probably the Air Max 1, right? And that's probably because it's like the perfect everyday sneaker. It comes in a million colorways, and I think it's like one of the most versatile ones, right? And so, it's like my version of a Chuck Taylor. I probably got every color, right? And I can throw on one with a fit. But and I also know that, like, we talk about inclusivity. If I'm in a city and like I dogged a pair of sneakers, or I needed a pair of sneakers, I know I could go. I don't have to necessarily go to, and I love to support local. So I'm definitely going to likely stop at, a sneaker shop, right? That's locally owned first. But if I'm in the middle of nowhere, I might have to go to Foot Locker, right? And, grab a pair, right? And I can probably
that you're gonna find.
Air Max, right? I can find something there. So,
and I'm looking at the history of it. The Air Max 1 that you're talking about came out in 87, but they never changed it until 95. So it was the same style until 95.
Well, they didn't change the Air Max 1, But
right, that's what I'm saying.
They've made different iterations of that one, and every in many years thereafter, like there's the 95, there's the 90. I mean, they're kind of like, I mean, I rock with a lot of them. Like I rock with the ones, the 90s, and the 95s the most. Those are the three different like silhouettes that I probably wear the most. But I wear a lot of other sneakers as well. It's just like it's just like. I've got my favorites in the beer space too, and I drink a ton of styles, right? I think, like you see these parallels, I never run out of ways to kind of like parallel them together. And I'm finding more and more ways to do that with the run component as well. And, this being year one, we're excited to see where it takes us. So yeah, I think Rob, and probably if there's anything else I want to say, for L Max, come for the run, come for the sneakers, or come for the beer. We talk about different rituals, one way or the other, it always ends here. And it's L Max pouring into the culture.
All right.
Nice.
Nicely said. This is definitely off topic, but it's definitely off topic, but not really actually, but we always ask our guests a random question. So who are your top 5 hip hop artists of all time?
Top 5 hip hop artists of all time.
What do you do?
Okay. No, like, okay. And these are conversations that we typically have over beers. Okay. In no particular order.
Yeah, sure. No order.
Nas, Biggie, Tupac, Mos Def, Black Thought.
Nice.
You went from one extreme to the next.
Yeah.
I'm kind of really in the same space when we talk about lyrics. Like it's really
it's lyrical, but like Black Thought to
you don't like Black Thought?
Nah, he ain't one of my favorite, but I don't hate Black Thought.
Right. I respect.
He got bars.
I respect the Black Thought.
He got bars. He got
sure.
Yeah.
I
think sometimes when we say that thing, it's sometimes like I think this is one that like over beers we would have arguments about all the time. You guys know it. I think that's why you asked it, but it's provocative. The list might change if you ask me tomorrow, because then sometimes you got to throw too many caveats in. Then you got the homie that says, "Oh, well, wait, he didn't sell this many records."
Right,
are we talking about records? Are we talking about hits?
Right. You definitely got to have the rules. You definitely got to have the rules because they change depending on what house you in.
Yeah, and then it's like, are we, and so my mind, a lot of time, if we're talking about it, usually goes back to craft, right? Where lyrics matter. I throw Tupac probably the one where, if we were talking about lyrics, like I'm not throwing Pac in there, but it's Pac, right? So it's like in that space where like almost, and then sometimes I feel like if I don't throw at least one West Coast rapper in there, like I'm a jump by somebody.
Craig, you gotta be ready to get drunk. You gotta get ready to. You gotta be ready to be jumped at all time. Protect your top 5.
So then protect your neck, right? Because then I could argue like in some days, like like the conversation. We can go down the rabbit hole because then I'll say, man, my one of my favorite duos of all time is Ray and Ghost, and then some people like that ain't a duo. I'm like, they are, fam. That's a duo. Like their best work was done together, and every time they on a track, it's freaking magic. If we talking about Wu in their heyday, right? Like putting them two on there. So, but you know what? I'll take that list and I rock with it. I know some of my West Coast homies would be like, "You ain't put Cube on there." I was like, "Dude, I put Pac on there." But like for me, Nas is sitting at the top pretty much in all conversations. So I mean,
tell your West Coast friends to shut up because I'll never put Ice Cube on my list.
Not in my top 5.
I mean,
my top 5.
My top 5. I'm gonna put Eminem, Royce the 5.
That's what I was going to say. I put Eminem in here.
I'm saying all
the D12.
All the Detroit rappers. Yeah. I got a special list like, and Detroit rap is, like our hip hop is really, it's definitely turned up just like, the Pistons right now. Like if you go anywhere, like just if you talk about mainstream rap or like rap beyond, not music rap, but like right now, like Detroit is having like a movement in the same way that once the South or New Orleans did. Like you go, like we slapping right now, us in the Bay, you know, and that's like sister like cities in terms of like we always had a vibe, but yeah, like it's popping in the city right now. So shout out to, you know, my Detroit people. What up, though?
Yo, you hear how his voice changed when he started talking about Detroit? Oh my
God!
Yeah,
you can't. Yeah, that
heard it. I heard it. Like Detroit in the Bay. I'm like, what the fuck? What's happening?
It sound like 42 Doug.
Craig L. Max is different from Craig Michigan.
look, it's
not even that you're different. It's just the tone of your voice.
Oh no, changed. Absolutely, man.
Yeah, you went straight to home.
It ain't on me. It's in me, man. You know, it's
yo. But one thing I
can't say, his hands like this.
One of the dope. It's crazy because one of the dopest that I don't know who listened. He on somebody list though. Like I always forget that Big Sean from Detroit.
Yeah, I was he on my list. He in my top Detroit rapper if I'm thinking about
for sure.
Oh yeah. You know, we go down a rabbit hole and start talking about Bodie James and Griselda. Like Bodie is sick with it. You put like on that Big Sean track, which was dope. If you know which one I'm talking about, he put like maybe like 10 different MCs from the crib on like this long. It was like on his last. On like one of his last CDs, on one of his last projects.
Bro, we know what kind of music you started off with.
Yeah, you know, like I started off in backpack hip hop, right? Like, you know, so that's why I think my top 5 reflects that. But
yeah, it does.
Yeah,
for sure. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Nah, but stand firm, Craig. Stand firm. Whatever list you had that day. That's
10 toes down, man.
That's the list you got. If you don't put Ice Cube in it, go to California and say that.
Look, I'm gonna tell you, Yoda. You know who you're gonna have to see. You're gonna have to see Brandon. You're gonna have to see Brandon drought season. Shout out to the homies at drought season. You're gonna have to see him because Ice Cube is his favorite rapper. And
I ain't many times let him talk to me. I ain't never heard that.
But because he's from Oakland, ain't he?
He's from Oakland.
Yeah, he stayed at West Coast shit. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, I ain't realized that Cube.
Well, at one point, people did have Ice Cube as the best lyricist.
He's a great lyricist.
That's why he wrote most of the stuff for NWA.
Yeah.
I'm not taking away from his craft. He's just one of my favorites.
Right.
Yeah,
he's one of my favorites.
But like for me, Cube had a very specific time where like he was that guy, right? And some of it, like I'd say he got like two classic CDs. And, you know, definitely he got a body of work that I rock with. But like some of it for me, I don't even say it didn't age well. I just don't go back to it. Like I still go back to like Illmatic. Like
absolutely what you're saying on that. Yep. And then with Ice Cube, it kind of changed because in '95 he did Friday. And once he started getting behind the camera and writing and everything like that, like I don't remember any songs that I like that Ice Cube did after.
It was
Friday.
a good day.
Well, he became
that was like the same.
That was
before
Friday. After Friday, has he? It's not. It ain't none.
He became more of an actor.
More of an actor director in the movie side of the entertainment than the music. And then like it was a good day for me. Like It Was a Good Day is one of the best songs ever performed. But that doesn't make him. It makes him more of a hit wonder for me.
I say this: America's Most Wanted and Death Certificate are still 2 classic albums. I'll put those in terms of classics, and like I can throw it on when I'm like in the mood. Like for example, now that we starting to get a lot of like AI videos that create videos that didn't exist, and I've seen some like like that were done like on behalf of Ice Cube that kind of took me back, and I was like, yo. I jumped in and hit Apple Play and like I started like vibing out to it. So I think you just go through those moments and then we evolve taste and then And
like in my history of hip hop, like by the time the West Coast came around, like and Ice Cube and NWA was out, like I was not trying to hear it. So by the time I became an adult, it was just like, oh, he was cool, but he make movies now.
Okay.
That's
fair
how
enough.
it was.
Yeah. I mean, we was in the thick of it, like passing his tape around, like type thing. So
like my school
like,
really
based
had
on the age, like
like it was literally people was like, I fuck with Snoop Dogg and Ice Cube, and I don't like Biggie. And
and that's crazy because we being from the Midwest, we picked up everything. Like we didn't have a coast. We didn't choose a coast. We rocked it, everything.
And look, Craig, it was only 8 of us. So it was really, really stupid. It was a really stupid beat. We only because we was have basketball teams. You're from the East Coast now.
Any more questions for Craig?
No, man. Congratulations.
For sure.
Really
thanks, man. And looking forward to seeing you guys and in DC when we out there. And then, like I said, I'll work on a little special like homie pack for you guys to ship out to you once to get a hold of everything.
A homie pack. Damn.
That's bigger than a 6-pack.
Well, once again, we want to thank Craig Stroud, L Max, for coming on the podcast.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Blessings. Peace.
Before we go, we always like to know how people can find you on these worldwide webs. I think do you have to RSVP for these events as well? Like how can they do that as well and all that good stuff?
Yeah, it's a free event. You can definitely RSVP. We've got a site up, obviously, lmaxofficial.com, and you can find us on social, lmax.official and Craig Stroud 313. Between the two of those, you see my cute kids in their sneakers. You'll see, me and my sneakers, and you'll see, stuff that we post for craft beer. And then obviously all of the latest, greatest will be lmax.official on Instagram.
All right.
Nice.
Lou?
I'm on the Memstagrams. My name is Lou Belgium.
Yo?
You can find me on IG at IM302YODA.
And you can find Bruising Banter Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter, and TikTok at bruisingbanter.com. I mean, at Bruising Banter. You can also go to www.bruisingbanter.com if you want to get merch like this or what you got on. What you got on? No. You can follow
Lou naked. He ain't got no shirt on.
You can also
for those who can't see me, those who are listening, I have a t-shirt on. It's just not a Bruising Banter one. I just want to make that clear. Hold on.
You were supposed to make them go watch and then want to find out.
That's behind us. That's behind the paywall. Me naked is behind the board.
I almost said you can listen to the podcast on Apple Podcasts. Anywhere you listen to podcasts, you can even say, Alexa, play Bruising Banter Podcast because we're on Amazon Music. If you want to follow me, Rob Say Bruising. There it is. Bing, 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 bing. Once again, we want to thank Craig Stroud for coming on the podcast. This has been another episode of Bruising Banter Podcast. Until next time.
Have a good week, everyone.
What he said.